All right. We are sorry for the delay, but we are rocking and rolling. So, thank everybody for joining our sixth session here at ETH Miami. Welcome to Road ETH Miami, sponsored by QuickNode. ETH Miami is a community event for developers, researchers, and builders in the Ethereum and developers to join our hackathon October 27th through October 29th. And for everyone who don't know me, I've done a couple of YouTube streams for ETH Miami. But whoever doesn't know me, my name is Sheena Johns. I am the team lead and core contributor here at ETH Miami. For our sixth interview here, we have Clifford Charles, a co-founder of FIU Blockchain. Hi, Clifford. It's great to see you today.
Thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate like you guys inviting me and to be able to join your show. Like I've been able to meet Andre and like talk to him for like the last year or so since I started the club. Like he was
Mm-hmm.
one of the very first phone calls that we actually had for when we were looking and we were just trying to figure out who is doing blockchain stuff in Miami, who can we connect with, who can we talk to, and immediately right away he had a high level of generosity and like just openness to wanting to like support what who we are and what we're doing, and even like assisting us with getting online solidity classes to inviting us to be a part of ETH Miami. Overall, like it's the team that you guys have and everything that you guys have been building over the last year has been so exciting to see. And now the fact that we are going to be able to work closer together is extremely exciting.
Yes, thank you so much for that. And everybody always talks about when they first met Andre. It has every time I hear a story, it's always like an exciting story. So it's great for you to share that. And I guess we'll start there. So tell us about how you got started in blockchain and how it all came together at FIU and you being a co-founder there.
Sure. So I would say initially, like in high school, I had a lot of friends who were very technically savvy, and they would start talking to me about like Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. But especially at that time in high school, that was like the least of my concerns. I was just more so worried about literally anything else but cryptocurrency. Just fast forward a couple of years later, found myself working at a country club as a cook, and it was just through like conversations with like different waiters and waitresses that were in there that really started to at least entertain the idea of blockchain and cryptocurrency, its use cases, its importance, and it started to make me want to do a lot of research. And when I was starting to do my research, it was around the same time when I started to feel a little bit dissatisfied with the job that I was working. So I left that job and I had some like exploring to do during the summer. And it was just purely by coincidence that I ran into someone who was fervently just trying to start something blockchain related at the university, and her name is Juliana. And it was once she and I started talking and we started trying to figure out how can we do this was really my immersion to the space, because I would go on YouTube, I would watch one video, and I'll feel like, okay, cool, cool. I feel like I really understand this topic. I feel like it makes sense to me. And then the very next video covering the same exact topic, I would just be dumbfounded. I would be so confused. I'll be like, wait, but like this person said this, but then this person said this. So like I wanted to actually find a way to actually get quality education. So like when you're looking around the university, like you always look at colleges as almost an authority figure when it comes to information and education. But at FIU, there just wasn't really anything. Like there was no blockchain education. And like I would look around, I would see students talk about it, but there was just very little, if any, programming at all. So when I met Juliana and like I just left my job and I was also looking for more education on this topic too, it kind of just everything lined up perfectly. Everything was set in stone and followed this direction. So that's at least how the club started. And when I started it, I went in with the perception and the idea of like high school clubs. I had no idea about how big clubs at a university can be, especially at FIU, because FIU it's a commuter school, meaning people go to class and then they come back. So FIU doesn't really have that type of school spirit. You don't have people like constantly like wearing the merchandise. You don't have like packed football stadiums. You don't have like the local place that all FIU students go to. We just don't have that culture. But that's where clubs really step in and really fill that void that is present where there's a lot of niche groups but they can become very strong, and you can see it especially when looking around at like some of the other clubs that have been here for year after year after year, where now they're like able to expand not just at FIU but expanding to different universities. They're becoming nonprofits, they're becoming large entities that are receiving tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars in funding just because they were a club at FIU. Because this is where the culture and some of the real change is actually happening at the university. And while building this club, while like learning about these things as I go, like it was just a constantly just failing forward, like falling on my face and then figuring out how to get back up. Because as I said, like I just did not know. I didn't know how to do any of this. I didn't know how to go around and get funding. I didn't know how to organize an event or who to talk to or how to communicate with different people in business or how to like figure out like my proper value proposition when communicating it to other people. But it was just through sheer desire to just make something happen that something actually did happen. And now looking back 1 year later, we have gone from zero to becoming one of the biggest blockchain clubs in the United States.
Wow, that's so inspiring. That's amazing. And that's huge for South Florida, right? Like there's a name and the presence that is stowed upon us, I will say, for Miami to become, or Miami or South Florida to become the next crypto Web3 hub. So I
Mhm.
think that it really tailors towards that goal. And I think that's great for South Florida. So that's awesome. And it's funny because a lot of people are self-taught, I would say, especially when they go to different like hackathons or different tech events. They kind of like deep dive on their own. So can you kind of talk about like using outside courses to kind of get people or developers up to speed in Web3 versus some of the courses that FIU has for blockchain?
So around the same time that we started the club, FIU started to actually create and implement a few classes on blockchain technology. I believe right now we are up to three different classes currently, and it's addressing not only like just cryptocurrency on like a technical level, but also just blockchain for business and then blockchain for law. And what I've noticed is that it's very good to have these options for students because then like it can become an elective credit for their major where they can learn about it and it's also contributing to whatever they are studying. And then not only that, it's it's sufficient for the people that are in the classes, but it's not sufficient enough for the people who didn't have the chance to go to those classes because none of these classes are free to attend. This is a university where most students are either paying by scholarship or out of pocket. So usually you want to make sure that you are taking the classes that are predetermined by by your advisor ahead of time, and usually your advisor will just not pick those types of course material for you. But with that being said, like outside of that, for other like education and like self learning, for me, it was just simply through like conversations because I felt like online I would get lost so quickly through different videos or different articles I would watch. And even like a boot camp program that I enrolled myself in to learn how to program in Solidity, like it still confused me and it made me feel lost. And so like really it was just conversations with like one person to the next person to the next person, and especially making sure that it's not just people who are enthusiasts but actually people who work in the industry that's what actually gave me some confidence. That's what actually reassured me and like was the biggest learning opportunity. Because I really, whenever it doesn't matter what it is, for me to actually learn properly, I need to find a way to immerse myself in the topic. So, like, let's say if I am if I am going to be learning about law, as an example, the best way is if I could send like cold call emails to lawyers, or if I could sit in the back of a courtroom, just anything to be exposed to that world and talk to people who actually know what they're talking about. That's how I learn best.
Wow, that's great. And I guess you could someone could utilize that experience that you've had and be able to use that for themselves as well. So I think that was really great. And what would be your take on South Florida, like other South Florida universities, to adopt more Web3 courses in their university?
Um, at the end of the day, universities are going to do what students are showing interest in, because the often when professors are what's called often when like professors or someone proposes a new curriculum or a new class, it can take almost 1 year to even get it approved, and you
Wow.
can see a lot of issues with professors, especially the ones that are interested in the topic of AI, often feeling like the moment that they do get approval for their curriculum, by the time that the school gives them the okay, the landscape is completely out of date, and any of the material that they would be teaching would be almost irrelevant to the modern day.
Hmm.
So when Juliana and I first started the club, what we actually, and Juliana was the person who helped me found the club. I didn't mention that earlier, but she was instrumental with this whole entire thing. She was the initial spark. But what we realized was that, especially talking to faculty, there was a lot of professors who were interested in the topic, who were curious about the topic. And even I remember one time, one of the upper level managers at the university even told us like they're kind of looking at our club as almost like a thermometer in terms of like people's interest in this
Mhm.
topic. So
Yeah.
really, I think it's up to other students, up to other student leaders, up to the student community in general to really try to like band together and show a visible interest to their university that we want this type of education. We want to find proper ways to learn about this topic, because if it's clear that students want this, then the university will give it, because at the end of the day it is a business and they will give what their customers want, by to make sure that they are able to still satisfy their bottom line.
Yeah, I guess I would say, like, how important is it, because we've just talked about that, like how important is it for universities to start thinking about, or really start putting in action now, to adopt some of the Web3 tools, because it's really changing the way that everyday businesses are running. So like people like JP Morgan and Visa and some of these other banking systems, where they have to use some of the blockchain technology to be able to utilize different wallets. Like, how important do you think it is for other universities to try to quickly adopt to adding Web3 courses to their programs?
I think, well, especially when it comes to like large entities, and it's good to see like payment providers such as like MasterCard and Visa start integrating this technology, but it is very difficult to work through an organization that is very bureaucratic. But especially when you propose the idea from like a smaller level, as almost like a test, it makes it easier for the people who are actually making real influential decisions to be able to warm up to the idea, because most people are finding out about this through the news, and
Yeah,
unfortunately the news hasn't been the most positive example. So
yeah,
having internal sources that can show a positive reflection of the industry is helpful. So whether it's, let's say in our case, as being part of a university, if you see research projects being done by students and professors, or if you're seeing clubs start popping up, or in a business sense, if you start seeing the local communities and social groups within a company start discussing these topics more often, it can very quickly have a butterfly effect throughout the institution, which can lead to more widespread adoption.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I totally agree with the fact that not everybody understands the concept. So when they hear the terms, they almost kind of go hiding because it's like,
Yeah.
oh, some of the other things that people have saw across the news in terms of like blockchain and crypto and wallets be associated with scams and stuff that have been, widespread across the world. So it does play a fact in some of the audiences and their perspectives of getting like deep dives into Web3. So that was some great feedback.
A lot of people, like, whenever they, like, for instance, I know for me, if I see something on TV, like a trailer for a movie on TV, I am much more likely to go see it if my friend is telling me it's worth seeing than to just see an advertisement on TV. So, like, and I'm saying that just because it's important for the people in within those circles to at least start hearing about it from their mutual partners, whether it's coworkers or people you're in a relationship with or friends, just to start hearing about it more actively. And as you start hearing about it, it's a lot easier to warm up to the idea than just to hear it on a YouTube video or just to hear it on the news.
Yeah, I think it's great for people to have that relationship with people who have already had the experience so they feel more comfortable about getting in and being able to ask them questions about their further ask them questions about their experience as well. What are some of the major tools that are used for some of those courses that are in blockchain?
Um, by tools, you mean like the methodology? So, like, the way that the information is presented?
Yes.
So, usually it's broken down either into like a technical or a non-technical direction. So in classes, like for instance, the blockchain for business, it is going to be looking at it from a non-technical perspective, looking at it as like what are the fundamentals of this technology and what are the possible applications. And I think that's very helpful for especially a more general audience. But
Yeah.
there are a lot of people who want to know how to build in this space. So to be able to build in this space, you need to understand at least roughly programmatically how this is being done. So there's also a lot of technical coursework that is being implemented, and not and our club, for instance, has actually been working on that considerably, where we've done a lot of education on both Solidity and Rust so that people can be able to learn and absorb the information needed and to know how to actually use the skills provided in class to be able to become a part of this industry. Because as you know, like, developers in this space are very much so in demand because there's just not that many of them out there, especially ones that have a true understanding of the languages and can actually build properly.
Yes, I totally agree with you, and I definitely mimic the conversation of having that experienced developer being able to really understand the front end and the back end to be a real good developer. So I would say that the course, the blockchain for business, would be like a starter course where someone would be able to start if they know nothing about blockchain.
Exactly. Because
Yeah.
you always need some way for people to enter into the industry. And luckily, like, I've been able to talk to the professor of that class multiple times, whether it's him allowing us to sit in and listen to his lectures or for let us speak to his class about our club. The way that he explains it, it makes it simple enough that a 5 year old could understand. And
Wow.
it's not just the way that he explains the topics, but he also makes sure that there are activities in place where students can have at least interact directly or indirectly with blockchain technology so that the concepts themselves can actually sink in properly.
Yes, I absolutely love that. I think that's one of the key fundamentals of being able to experience is to have hands on. So the better the hands on to build projects, to build small things that people actually are passionate about, I think it is really great, especially when you allow for the student to really put their passion into it, because it makes it much more worthy of even building. So I think that's very good that you guys have a course for like a beginner stage for people who are not even in a technical space, but they understand, some tech. So it's great that you guys have that.
We're not, because we're not all technical. Like, a lot of us are either coming from like a business perspective or from a creative perspective, and for an industry like this to be able to thrive, it can't just cater to the needs of one type of group. It needs to be able to pull in a variety of people and from different backgrounds so that they can all collaborate together and to be able to build something that none of them separately could build on their own.
Yeah, I love that. That's awesome. So while we're on the topic of Web3 and universities, I'd love to talk about just how AI has been taking over a lot. So how has that have just AI and blockchain? How has that caused any division, or has that kind of fast forward some of the blockchain movement at FIU?
I Let's see, because at least at the university, you can see that the moment Chat GPT was released upon this world, things changed very drastically. Everybody started getting A's in their class. Everybody was now like a professional essay writer. Like, it was kind of incredible to see how quickly people adopted this. And it's one of those things where, although like you can question like the ethics of actually using it for these types of purposes, it is very much so a helpful tool, and it's not like you can truly get rid of it. And as new ways that universities try to implement to slow down the progression of it and slow down students from using it, like, we as a collective are constantly sharing ideas and sharing ways of to get around all of the blockers that are present. So it's kind of been very fascinating to see this, because like it's a lot of demand, and from compared to the fall semester, there was some AI programming, whether it's through clubs or through classes, but during the spring semester, there was a massive implosion of everybody scrambling to try to host something that's AI related.
Hmm.
Not only that, you can see a lot of professors, like, they were submitting a lot of different curriculums for AI. Or even today, I was sent an email from FIU of them announcing all of their AI programming that is going to be coming out during the fall semester.
Wow.
So looking around, like, it's clearly been something that has absorbed and captured the minds of a lot of college students. But what is good is that although it is not like directly related with blockchain technology, it is a complement to it. So you see that some of the all the people that are being introduced to AI or have been in AI are starting to notice blockchain technology as well. I can't really attest to it on a, what's it called, on a university level, but
Yeah.
just anecdotally from like looking around and talking to people all over Miami, the a lot of people, they first taste is through AI over the last 6 months, and then they start finding out more about blockchain technology and starts growing more curious. So it's all feeding each other and creating almost like a positive feedback loop where when you find out about one, you start finding out about the other, and they both start growing together.
Yep. I totally agree. And I guess we'll take a couple of minutes to wrap up, but a couple questions here left here. But what's next for blockchain at FIU, and how can people or who developers that are not necessarily a university student connect with the blockchain at FIU?
So when this club started, like, we were just figuring things out as we go. But now that we are at a place where we feel like we have a strong idea of how to run events, how to bring in funding, how to do this, how to do that. We really see it as like the fall semester and the spring semester of where we actually can really shine, where we can actually show the real potential of this club. And we have a lot of things planned, from blockchain programming to company valuations. So, like learning how to evaluate a balance sheet of companies, to learning about AI, or the metaverse, or even all of our technical workshops that are going to be not only learning how to code, but also building projects and solutions at the university. And even though we're called blockchain at FIU, don't let the name like fool or confuse you. This is
I
like
love that.
everybody. Like if you want, if anybody anywhere, if you want to fly in from Jersey and want to stop by, that's not a problem. And like the best way to find us is on all of our social medias. It's blockchain at FIU. And for our website, it's blockchain at FIU.club. So those are always like the best ways to connect with us, and feel free to reach out to us. I know that the best way to at least get in contact with me is through email at blockc@fiu.edu. If anybody's ever interested or curious or wants to join, you can either connect with us on social media or email me, and I'll be quick to respond to you.
Awesome. That was amazing, Clifford. You are the best. And I'm looking forward to interacting with the blockchain at FIU. Now that I know and everybody else knows that it's just not with FIU, that anybody can stop in at any time. That's the best. I think we have one question about can you repeat your email again?
Yes, let's see. It's block, so BLOCKC at FIU.edu.
All right. I hope you caught that. And if not, I'm sure we can get it out at some point. But again, thank you so much, Clifford, for the talk today. And I'm looking forward to seeing you in many other spaces that we've seen before. And then also, we're looking forward for everybody to join our hackathon October 27th through the 29th. So thank you so much for joining tonight, and we will see you on the next episode of Road to ETH Miami. Thanks, everybody.
Bye, everybody.